Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Having Fun Beyond Earth with Scott Lemriel.
It's still about awakened hidden truth, but it's now beyond Earth, having fun beyond Earth. I think that is good.
Yes.
So we'll start a new series of things. You could still put beyond Earth, having fun, awakened hidden truth in parentheses, and then do it like
Sure.
that. So it still bridges to the other videos. I would do it that way. Then we can start a new chain of videos, but it'll still link to your previous ones because it'll
Mhm.
be in the title. Having fun beyond Earth, awaken hidden truth. Something like very simple like that. That's a good way to do it. So we're here, me on Earth some of the time, you in Thailand, and in Thailand some of the time. You're not always there. A lot of times when your body's asleep at night, you're gone. You're out in the universe. And they're really bringing the awareness practically back to the physical entity and consciousness you grew up with here on Earth. The body you're running takes some effort and some work to get the misdirected ideas about so many things sorted out, particularly with fear of the present and future, because they block any out of body stuff. They block telepathy. They block any advancement that anyone can make whatsoever. So even in my own so-called family on Earth is not my real family, but they are only going to live and die with what they know. They know no more. They've discovered no more in their whole lifetime about what really matters. So, what are you going to do? Can't force anything on anyone. We can't. But we can put out into this world a channel of a pure energy that most people aren't aware exists or even know what it does or how to contact it, and make it run through the atmosphere of this planet and pass through organic matter, rocks, tunnels, pyramids, and let it begin to uplift people in a way that when they wake up in the morning, sometimes they just wake up knowing more and they go, how did I know this? It's subtle because instead of fighting them in their religious or political beliefs, which is a waste of time entirely, completely, they change from the inside out. And then when they cross your path, it's easier to work with them. I know in my work, since I came to this planet as a diplomat and was, I should say, caught and did not complete my mission at that time, I had a choice to be mad at the universe and do something destructive and probably end my life early, really, or to make something constructive out of the entire experience. And that brought me into my exploration of the higher dimensions, parallel dimensions, other planets, other worlds, beings in huge spacecraft, galactic alliance personnel, master teachers, all the way above the void into the upper worlds, so that something good could come out of all that. So I stuck around. Did I have to? No. Was it worth it? I think so. Yes. So here we are. How do you have fun exploring things beyond Earth? Is it fun? Well, it is for me. I don't even question it because wherever we go, we're always venturing into new territory, seeing new things, meeting new people, all of which has nothing whatsoever to do with Earth or its history. But it does have a great deal to do with galactic history, which people on Earth today know absolutely almost nothing about whatsoever. And yet they were involved in that history. And for one reason or another, they've been made to not only forget it, but be afraid of remembering it. So, how do we have fun beyond Earth? What do you think we do, Perry? How do we have fun beyond Earth? Share your insights and your wisdom with people that might see this video out there. And
Yeah,
you
to,
never know,
to
we'll see it.
yeah, to my experience, Okay, when we go on the journey, some people might not experience or feel anything at that moment, but after that, when they live their life every day, that the experience come on that way, with me too.
I'm seeing a pattern of light outside of my eyes, golden energy moving around, that Tyrillion's doing something. He says, relax, it's good for you.
Okay.
Trillion is a human being, and I say this again now because we never know who's just tuning into or will tune into this video when it's live on your YouTube channel. But he's a human being from another world. He usually presents himself as 18 feet tall because his race, human, on another world long ago were 18 feet tall, up to 25 feet. Certain skeletons have been found on this planet going back 3.5 million years that are 18 to 25 feet tall. Nobody knows where they came from. And as soon as they're found by archaeologists, they're classified and taken away from the world because it has to do with extraterrestrials, and that's the most highly classified thing on Earth today, not hydrogen bombs. That's peanuts compared to what is out there. So governments, in all of their misdirected wisdom, their fear-based decision-making, have decided it's best that people should not be told the truth. And of course, this is wrong in every way it could possibly be. And they've been paying a price financially and in trouble in the world ever since they made that decision. And they're not going to get off the hook, because the full disclosure that is required of Earth people for them to be able to be allowed to play among the stars, which is fact. The quarantine of this solar system will not be lifted until governments and people on Earth can be trusted to go out there. And if you look at the people on Earth today, they cannot be trusted with that. Not any country. Not even any combination of countries, because countries don't even work together on this planet. Not really. So that all has to change. And there are ways for that to change, but the solutions are not on this planet yet. They have to be brought here. People on Earth have no idea what their real future is, or what the changed destiny for this planet has become. It's easy to blow up a planet and have a nuclear war. If people think that's a big deal, that something like that has happened on this planet a number of millions of years ago. Nuclear bombs, hydrogen bombs, all that stuff is not new. It's ancient, misused technology. And the races and beings that practiced that are gone now. They're not out there. Humans didn't evolve on Earth. They evolved out in the galaxies many millions, even several billions of years ago, and were brought here under one scenario or another, going back 65 million years since the dinosaurs were made extinct here. It wasn't some meteor or some big accident. They were made extinct because they had outlived their experiment, their usefulness. They were so ponderous and big they would have eaten themselves to death anyway. Even the vegetarians, like the big brontosaurus eating all the trees. You kill all the trees and all the vegetation, there's no oxygen, nothing to purify the carbon dioxide these animals breathe. So they were not meant to be a lasting life form. And you have to understand that dinosaurs, as they appeared on Earth, didn't evolve here. When this world was in a situation before humans were colonizing this place, they were all over the world. You couldn't live here, it's too dangerous. And they were brought here to experiment genetically to see how big they could get and what they could do with it. And when they realized it was an experiment that has no beneficial end. They ended it. It means there's worlds out there with dinosaurs still on them. Some evolved through genetic experimentation to be bipedal reptilian, other races, not all bad. Spacefaring, some tyrants, some not. And these are the things that people are going to have to deal with when they go out among the stars. It's not like Star Trek in the future. It's far more evolved than that. The technology is far more evolved than warp-driven spacecraft with radioactive warp cores and all that nonsense. It's nonsense. That isn't the way to get around the universe. To get around the universe, shall we say, faster than the speed of light, which has no real limit to it, you have to work with that energy that's out in space that supports everything. What people call toroidal or zero-point energy, the energy of the universe. In certain scientific circles on Earth, they know it's out there. They know it's something powerful. It's packed full of it, but it isn't atomic or nuclear. It's not the nuclear reactions that are going on a star or the sun. It's the energy that all those things float in. Little magnetic fields and they're little spinning on their axis and little things circling around each other create like a floating technology. So things float in this other energy. And it's that other energy of the universe that's right outside the atmosphere of Earth. And people call it divine spirit. And they think wrongly that it's some abstract spiritual thing of energy, but it's got nothing to do with space. Wrong. That's just all wrong. So people don't really get an opportunity to communicate with this one primordial living energy that's out there. And where it comes from is more important for beings who have to incarnate in bodies and one day find out why all this is taking place. There is a purpose to it. That purpose is deliberately distorted on Earth because beings that were deliberately distorted came here. Some of them set themselves up as kings and tyrants. They're gone now. All gone. Current leaders making decisions based on fear of each other, unfounded generally. They create wars based on fear that is not justifiable. Sometimes it's just done for greed, for money, to sell weapons, to create new, use weapons and then have the money to build new ones, get rid of the old ones. The economies in this world are war-based economies. They were built on war. There's no healthy future in that. There just isn't. Cannot be. It's contradiction in terms. How do you change something like that? Well, I don't see the people in power now being willing to do it. They're too afraid to do it, even though they know they have to. And they're being given the help they need, should they ask for it, to make this world change. The technology is not the problem. It never was. It's not the problem. What you do with energy is the problem. What a person does or chooses to do with money or energy or electricity, static electricity, nuclear materials, which have been perverted and altered to be very destructive. And by the way, that technology was never invented on this planet by German scientists or anybody else. It's ancient, and it was brought into this world through the Germans, who had a connection with a negative alien race. And they were breaking an off-world treaty to do it. And it came to an end violently. And the beings responsible for that are gone now. Because then they didn't intervene. They just let it all take place like this. So what's taking place now on Earth with the use of weapons is what you call conventional weaponry, not nuclear. Because people on Earth aren't allowed to use it. They don't tell the public this yet, but they're going to have to. It's fortunately for us that we can't use it, because if we could, When I say this, the people in power would have blown this place to hell a long time ago. They tried to, and it was stopped from space. Their launch computers were shut down. It's a fact. I'm not making this up. Earth people in the way this planet are considered a dangerous group of knuckleheads out among the stars because people here are. They don't know why they're alive. They don't know how to get along. They don't know how they should run a world government. They haven't any idea how to do it. And they're going to need help from beings that have been doing it for millions of years. And I'm talking about humans from other worlds as well. It's a practical issue. It's something that must take place for this planet to survive, or life will end on this world again. And then it'll just be recolonized again. There are people living on Earth today that blew up a planet in our solar system a long time ago. It is an asteroid field circling in the orbit of a planet at high speed around the sun between Mars and Jupiter. Scientists haven't got a clue in hell how it got there or why it's there, circling in the orbit of a planet. Well, duh. When that took place, the destruction of that world, it affected Mars, the atmosphere of Mars. It affected Earth. And so, because beings from other worlds let that happen then, the repercussions of it, negative for this solar system, also affected them in negative ways way beyond this solar system. And they had to, in a sense, wake up and realize if you're more advanced than your kind, and a huge organization of world systems like this, then they have a responsibility to assist younger races, or races that have been terribly subconsciously misdirected, to gain back what's called true free will, the ability to make decisions without any subconscious fear influencing that decision. This is critical, where people cannot make proper decisions on Earth about anything. Fear and correct decision making do not mix at all, and they never will. It is not the nature of the universe that positive and negative mix to create something positive. They neutralize each other. Basically, if people are indulging in imagining a negative fear about the present and future and positive or constructive things for their family, making money, being successful, the two are in conflict. Their imagination, which should be used in one way, is split into two opposing forces. It goes out in that one energy and tells it to bring both negative and positive things into their lives because it's a co-creator with us. Beings on Earth that run bodies don't remember this at all. That they're meant to be co-creators with that field of energy out there. It goes up through other dimensions, not just in space, not just between trillions of galaxies, but up many levels. So the more advanced races understand this energy, at least on the physical level, and how to work in harmony with it. So they don't have a problem understanding how to build devices which will work with that 0-point energy to get around the universe. Way beyond any limits of the speed of light nonsense. Rocket ships will never be able to travel any great distance in space, ever. Never. Not ever. They rely on fuel that's explosive and oxygen to burn it. They have inherent limitations. It's just a beginning phase for some culture to develop them, get outside in space and orbit the planet. Well, whip-de-doo, big deal. In 65 years, you went to the one little moon, a dead moon that's orbiting your world, and that's all you've done? That's not something to be proud of. You have a little anti-gravity reverse engineered stuff, and you play with it. But it's not true that you can take ET back home, because space is already occupied by ET, and they're far more advanced than we are. We're not being allowed to go play with them, like some militaristic mind to go out there and conquer space and reap the rewards of resources from other worlds. This is never going to happen, ever. Because the beings that live there are not going to allow it. And as a representative, in a sense, of them, I wouldn't allow it either. It's not up to me as one person. But the greater power that's out there, this 0-point energy, is a living force. And it has its own direction for things. And we need to learn how to work in harmony with that if we want to get along, advance very quickly, end disease, change genetics, and all that's just science. Genomes on the DNA are switches, mechanical switches, accessed by precise sound frequencies. Turn one off, no cancer. Turn another one on, you live 1,000 years. And because you turn a certain genome on, and the telomeres on the DNA do not shrink every time they duplicate. It's as simple as that. They're beginning to make inroads into understanding this, but they've got a ways to go in order to actually know how to affect DNA through sound to alter any problem a person might be having. There's no need for cancer. There's no need for fleas and ticks and mosquitoes to be on this planet, or flies. These are all primitive, prehistoric creatures still alive today that are, shall we say, experiments that should have been away with a long time ago. There's nobody responsible on this planet to do that. Their money's not being put to fix things, to regrow the rainforest they've burned down. These dummies don't realize that if you destroy the rainforest and the ecology of growing plants and ancient trees here, people on this planet will perish. Because they're the only things that filter out carbon dioxide we breathe out and provide us with oxygen. If 70% of the oxygen comes from the ocean, which it does, and those trees and everything's gone, there won't be anything to filter out the carbon dioxide. It won't matter how much oxygen is. People will die anyway. So this is just common sense to people out among the stars. They would not set off a hydrogen bomb in their own atmosphere just to test it and radiate everything around them. They did that deliberately here. And people are so dumbed down, they don't realize that cancer and diseases, many of things came from those bomb tests. Governments hide behind the government, and you can't sue them. They hide behind the abuse they've created. And it's a terrible abuse. And they all know it now. That's why nobody blows up hydrogen bombs in the atmosphere anymore on this planet, anywhere. The last few tests done in China and Pakistan and North Korea were underground. They were atomic bombs, not hydrogen. It's the reason I bring this up isn't to criticize or particularly point a finger at any particular individual or government on this planet. That's pointless. They're too afraid to listen anyway. But I can say that races from the stars have met with certain leaders here and basically laid out what they're going to have to do if they want to stay running things or governments. They're going to have to cooperate and begin to change for the better, start to evolve, start to grow up, take responsibility for the custodianship and caretaking they're entrusted with to run this planet right, clean its air, come up with systems to demolecularize sewer, make it into products. The electronics, the ability to do it is here. They're not putting money in that. They're putting money in weapons and chemtrails and all kinds of silly nonsense, which has no positive outcome in the end whatsoever. So from day one, when I first came out and began to speak, before I met you, Perry, and went to certain conferences in the world, I went to Finland and Norway to ground a certain off-world energy into this planet. That's why I was there. I didn't tell anybody about it. I didn't talk about it. It was unnecessary. And it was done to assist beings from elsewhere so that the people on Earth would not destroy themselves, because they will if they can. Fear makes people make decisions that are destructive only. every time without exception. So the real key here is that people need to be set free of fear. Tyrants are the only one who love to use fear to control people and suppress them for their own power, their own ego. And they're busy stealing from their own people while they're doing it and then justifying it as something good. Because way down deep, they feel pretty guilty about what they're doing. This is not right. And their time on earth is very limited. And that's the sad fact of it. All that they do and all the destruction they cause, their time on this earth is a blink and it's gone. They can't take any of it with them. Nothing. If I had 9 Academy Awards, you could not take them with me when this body is dropped away. You can't take your past, you can't take films, you can't take books, you can't take anything. The only thing any being takes with them when the body they're running stops is what they're aware of. Good or bad, positive or negative, both, or perhaps, if they're very fortunate, the awareness to go to higher realities and greater energy when they leave this life because they have direct experience of it before their body perishes. Otherwise, they are left with the little they've learned in life and the fears they take with them. And that creates the circumstances of their next stepping into and running another body, usually with no memory of what came before. This is not normal. It's not natural. It is not good. It is not healthy. It is the way Earth is right now, but it is not destined to stay this way. So let's chat about that a little bit, Perry. Let's have some fun about this, because the point of this is not doom and gloom at all. It's quite the opposite. Getting into the energy that's moving out through the universe in one way and coming through Earth, and joining with that and co-creating with that and being part of it is what you would call how a being gets into serenity of being. It's right, way beyond joy or pleasure or pain. It's the nature of our being to be serene and calm and part of a channel that can change things. That's what we want.
And Scott, yeah, of course you don't know, but because I have a show in Thai in my Thai channel too, so people can see and can tell that. How could I know so much? Deep into like energies, into I am more interested into science, like cells, like the energies around the plasma energy. All this come from awakening path. Since I met you day one till now, I have changed so much and I have known so much. I mean,
Have
I
I
could
ever
become a
charged you?
genius now.
Have I ever? Yeah, because your IQ's gone way up. I told you that would happen.
Uh-huh.
It's natural for the Atma as it awakens, meaning the spherical energy you are, round, like a sun or moon or planet. That's what soul really looks like. And when that awakens, the thing that's running that body, plugging it in, plugging into your brain and making it run comes from the energy of the being. A human body and brain does not run itself, ever. There's no body on this earth, the human, that can be born and run itself like a mechanical thing, like a biological entity. No. It has to have another energy, the energy of the universe, the toroidal energy, that moves through the Atma, running it, or it just stops working. Just
And
like turning
because
off the key to your car.
yeah, and because I share my experience with the Thai people on my channel, so many of them write to me that they are smarter too. So I have to thank again to you and our friends, for your work, Scott, in helping us a lot.
Have I ever charged you any money?
Nothing. Zero.
That's very rare and unusual.
Correct.
And although I've had some help from wonderful people financially in certain ways that were able to donate to what I do for a while or anything like that, the energy that's on this planet that people call money isn't theirs. They are custodians or caretakers of it for a short time to see what they'll do with it. It's not about their ability to take any of it with them, because everybody knows they can't anyway. So the real challenge is, how do you do the right thing with energy while you're here that will make a difference to the universe itself, not just Earth? My work is about helping people recover that ability, because they have the ability suppressed and it needs to be recovered. The tight knot of fear, the present and future, has to be unwound carefully, so their nervous system doesn't fry in the process and they drop dead. The increase in energy coming through a person, the change in brain ability, using more of a percentage of your brain instead of 6 to 10%. It's 100% developed brain in people because of what was done to them. Only use 6 to 10% of it. The rest of it's just dormant. That's not natural. It's not normal. But people on Earth don't understand that what they're measuring is not normal at all. They don't remember history of their lives before here, and they're afraid to. So all they've got to work with is what they observe in people here, which is almost nothing of any real truth. Almost nothing compared to real life and how people live in other worlds that are human. Not like Earth.
Yes, I have heard the story like billionaires, like 100 billionaires. They have so much money and they don't know what to do with the money, and they don't have like purpose of living, or if they could come into realize that they are not their bodies, and they could cooperate to make something to benefit our life. That is the real purpose.
That's something that has to change in the individual from the inside out. Usually, and especially now, certain individuals with great wealth are being worked with when they're out of their bodies at night, dreaming. When they leave their body every night, because everyone does, many wondrous beings will meet with them and help them to gradually understand the right use of funds and power they're in, because it's their ticket to freedom. It's their way to get out of here without just dying unconscious again and being compelled to reincarnate in another body and run it with no memory. That's not normal at all. So people on Earth, the great majority of them, do not know what normal is right now. They don't.
Right.
If they did, the world wouldn't be like it is right now. So a lot of help is required to be brought to this planet from outside of its atmosphere in order for this world to survive. And I guess the main thing I'm trying to do is help people become aware that such an offering from vast organizations of worlds has already been presented to the certain leaders on this planet, and they turned it down because of fear. You got cockroach movies in Hollywood, giant cockroaches and big spaceships blowing up all the cities for water or some other silly thing. And it makes money and it's mindlessly entertaining, but it doesn't do anybody any damn good. And it's designed to stimulate fear to be in the forefront of people's lives. So they're afraid of space, they're afraid of freedom, they're afraid to remember that they once lived out among the stars before they started incarnating unconsciously on this planet. The memory's suppressed in them. Duh. Yeah. And everybody knows there's something not right with this planet and the way they grew up and how they live. They know there's something not right with the governments. There's something not right with religions, because the religions don't get along. Neither do the politics. And politics on this planet's history dominated the religious leaders to control people. This is a fact. I'm not making it up. Not pointing fingers at any one religion or being negative about them, because people need something to rely on, to believe in. But it is most important that people have direct experience of things they were made to forget in order to know what this divine spirit is, to know how to work with it, know how to be in telepathic communication with it, to know how to work with beings from other worlds. Because we have no destiny in future of space travel whatsoever the way we are now. And people putting all these things together to go out in space probably aren't stopping to think about how limited rocket ships are. They will never be able to travel fast enough to get anybody anywhere of any value. Maybe after hundreds of years, you might get ships like that exploring the solar system, but that's it. They're never going to be fast enough. You can't take enough oxygen and fuel with you to go anywhere at any great distance or any speed anyway that way. So a different technology has to be utilized. And certain people on Earth that are classified know quite well, they call it zero-point or toroidal energy, but they're really talking about the energy of the universe. All that energy that is in between all the planets and galaxies that float in it is the toroidal energy. It's not nuclear, it's not atomic, it's much finer than molecules and electrons and protons. The Atma we are, which is spherical, is comprised of this type of energy. It is not destructible at all because it comes from an energy that exists beyond the lower dimensions of time and space. It comes from a pure positive energy originally, and it has a destiny to return to that source. Everyone does. On Earth, people are so far away, in a way, of recalling their purpose for existing here, and so frightened of it. Unless something miraculous happens in their lives, they will never make much progress in any lifetime here, because it's contradiction in terms. Fear of the present and the future do not mix with enlightenment or freedom at all. Not in the least. So when we're talking about having fun beyond Earth, we're not talking about philosophy or religion or politics. We're talking about the nature of life that has nothing directly to do with any of those things. It just supports it all.
Yes, Scott, life beyond Earth on other planets, so beautiful, so peaceful. I don't have enough words to explain, but you all got to experience it yourself, so beautiful.
Well,
Beautiful.
what we're doing, my work, has to do with going into the first primordial sound that existed in the universe before the lower dimensions of time and space, galaxies and planets were ever built. It predates it. The beings we are predate creation. What did he just say? The beings we are that run these bodies predates all of creation, meaning astral, causal, mental, etheric, physical worlds, the void that some Buddhist monks know about. Maybe all of them do, but they think that's like, a lot of them think that's God. Well, in a way, God passes through it, but it's not the source at all. It's much further up in dimensions than that. Now, if people don't remember and they're afraid to remember any of this, how can they possibly bring the awareness of it to their misdirected life on Earth and change for the better? Because ultimately, the Atma they are has to change the reality of the life they're living here.
Yes, Scott, I like to point this out to people on Earth because we are on Earth and nobody teaches us how to get out of the body and to go to other space or other planets. So we stuck here on Earth. But then when you take us on many journeys to different planets, to many dimensions, so we can start seeing things, and then we can imagine where we want to go. That's how we have fun beyond Earth. This is the point, of having
So the
fun.
first part of this radio show, although somewhat lengthy, is important because although we're not traveling yet, at least the people who will watch this video won't think they are, but once they tune into it, an aspect of them running a body in a higher plane will already be experiencing things. They're going to catch up with themselves. So when I go into the first half of the word human, which did not get created on this earth, by the way, then it opens a doorway through the pineal gland in the center of the human brain. It makes it possible for the Atma running that body because fear is suspended temporarily, put aside. There are beings that work with us that will see to it that subconscious drives that are negative are turned off. We get people to go into the trance state we call sleep through use of just daydreaming, which people know how to do all over the world, but they don't realize what it is they're doing when they're doing it. Someone's looking out of a window and they're in a classroom and they're bored. It's a good example. And they imagine being on the ski trip that weekend or being with a lover, or being on another planet, or being in the mountains or in the ocean or Hawaii. They see it, they visualize it, but their physical eyes aren't actually seeing it at all. Physical eyes are open to the world. They're seeing light and things coming to them, say, from the parking lot, through the glass windows in a classroom. Their imagination is not made up in their brain at all. The brain does not have the capability to imagine anything. The personality of a being is not the brain. Very little information has ever been put into that brain when a person grows up in this lifetime. There's no university that even teaches any of this on this planet. You can't get a
Many,
PhD in out-of-body travel here. But it
many
exists.
people, yeah, sorry. Many people don't remember how to go back home to source, you know. And because me, I went on many journeys with you and some people on the in the group. Whenever I have fears, I get out of the earth atmosphere, or many times I went back with source, you know, to get this energy back, you know, and to control the fears, and that how I can be happier in life on this earth, on this planet.
Of course, that's all talk. So this work involves demonstrating, providing some guidance to help people begin to remember what they've been made to forget long ago. How to imagine means how to see into the multidimensional nature of the universe. Not the physical eyes, but the being running the body can see into it. It's made of the same energy. And the limits of light and sound and gravity are not part of this. It's the energy before any of that exists that it supports. So we're working with an energy that can go anywhere, be anywhere instantly, what we call direct projection. And I mean what people call it off-world, because it's known for people from birth. They're taught differently there than they are on Earth altogether. It's fact that they predominantly don't have any tyrants running their governments. They're the wisest people doing that, can be trusted. Money isn't legal in most worlds. It's illegal because it's abused. People get brainwashed to it as if it's real. On Earth, it isn't. There's no gold backing any of it. People just accept it's valuable, so they exchange it. That's all there is to it. And I'm not recommending people give up money or anything else. That can come about when the time's right for this planet. Right now, people need to work with it because it's the only way you can buy something at a fast food place or a grocery store. They won't let you buy it. See, it's simple. Things are driven by what you'd call negative passions of the mind or negative emotions here. Accumulation, greed, unfettered greed, power, manipulating, lying to people to control a powerful position. This is common for this planet, not new. Everybody knows it. And everybody in those positions has the ability to change and get out of it in a way that'd be quite astounding to them if they understood it. When people begin to learn to take their imagination away from fear of the present and future, it turns off those subconscious drives like a switch. So when we go on these journeys, I begin to send out this sound, the first half of the word human, to make a connection into that toroidal field out there. It's telepathic, not psychic. It's a much finer energy than anything psychic. Psychic energies work with the four lower dimensions of time and space. 5. Astral, physical, astral, causal, mental, etheric. And that's it. When you go beyond the void into the other realities, there is no positive and negative. There's no time and space as people understand it here. And those universes are much more vast than all of the lower dimensions of time and space put together. They existed before these divisions were built. So as an Atma running a body on Earth, 2 questions you can ask. 1, how unconscious have you been made to be? And 2, what is your real capability to co-create and know the source behind all life? Most people are afraid. They think, oh, I can't know that. It's the supreme being. You can't know it. This is incorrect completely. You have to go to where it is to commune with that source, prime creator, but it's not blocking anybody from doing it. Fear does that. Fear is an artificially created emotion. So ask yourself, where did it get created, by who, and how did it get implanted in the electromagnetic field that surrounds the being and the aura that surrounds a physical body? And how do you get rid of that stuff? So that's what these journeys are about. What I'm going to do is begin to send out the hue. I'm going to do it once. You tell me if you can hear it well, because I had some problems with sound in the last few journeys we took on Wednesdays. I had a setting wrong in my sound settings for Zoom. You clear now?
Yes, clear all the way.
Okay, that's, I know, because I tested it earlier. Okay, when I do this, for people who are tuning in at first, or people that follow you, I'm actually making a telepathic connection to the energy field outside of Earth and to beings working there, associates, master teachers that aren't even known on Earth. Terrellian, who is an ambassador from the Se race, which is the most ancient human race, much taller than people on Earth. They immortalized their bodies in a special way over 1 billion Earth years ago. They dematerialized the DNA pattern, stored it in a teardrop, a certain higher faculty, in one of the layers of the spherical being they are. And so when they want to manifest a form, they don't eat or go to the bathroom or any of that. When they need to manifest a form for some purpose, they just draw on the energy that's in the universe, fill in the DNA, and this body forms. It's made of pure energy, but it looks solid, and it's temporary. When they're done using it, they dematerialize it again. That's real immortalization of a body. There are races that have immortalized the DNA by turning on certain genomes so the bodies don't age. And there's people out there millions of years old running the same bodies unaged on some planets, even in our galaxy. And they're humanoid, 10 feet tall, taller than people on Earth, elegant. And we'll get into that. But what's more important is that the people of Earth, the entire planet, become aware of life beyond Earth. And it's been decided that the energy to do that is being brought through this solar system, and it only works one way. It isn't dualistic. It's not positive and negative. It's the energy behind that. And it's moving in a new direction through this, not only the solar system, but our entire galaxy. And it has one purpose: to bring about the awakened free will in individuals to choose to have subconscious fear and negative programs that are influencing them neutralized. That's it. Okay. I'm going to put out the hue, and then I will disappear for a few minutes, and everybody just listen, and I'll be right back. Look and listen with your eyes closed. Shut the eyes off. It turns off that part of the brain that allows light from the physical world to come into you. Same thing you do when you put the body to sleep at night. And I will be right back. I'm back. I recommend you close your eyes. For this journey, I'm going to serve as a guide. Torellian, ambassador of the Seres, will be there, and many other beings I introduce people to who are not from this world. One thing that's very important for fellow beings on Earth to understand is this. Before you can have any kind of practical or productive meeting with fellows and women and men and other beings from other worlds, you first have to be prepared to stand in your own gravity, in the center of your own being. You can't put them on a pedestal. You must respect them. They already respect your potential, who you are. So one of the requirements for gaining back the awareness of who we are as the Atma, the co-creative individual with Source, Prime Creator, is that we have to become aware of the nature of life that exists in the grand multidimensional creation. The being that runs a body on Earth has this capability. The brain and body of the Earth does not. That brain and body and personality, that genetic entity, that DNA structure you run can be enlightened. It can be altered. It can be elevated. Certain genomes can be turned on. You can use 100% of your brain instead of 6 to 10%. For instance, this allows for higher faculties of being to move through the consciousness of the form that was raised on this planet. Imagine someone you love and respect, you are grateful they are in your life, a person, place, or thing, but be genuine. Imagine something that makes you smile inside that is beneficial or good for you and all life. It could be a child's smile, a hummingbird hovering in front of your face, a beautiful waterfall cascading down multi tears into a green emerald blue pool in some jungle setting in Hawaii. It could be you filling your toes as the ocean wave crashes and runs the foam up over your toes, and you feel the mist of the crashing wave on your face. And the beach is a golden, luminous sand. It's not on Earth, but it looks like an earthly environment. And so you can close your eyes, because then you're doing what you do when you put the body to bed at night anyway. It is quite an accomplishment for an Atma running a human body to know how to put a body to sleep and leave it, because every single being on earth, as crude or rude or as unconscious or as elevated as they might be, leaves their body every night. When that body goes to sleep, it's run on automatic, and you have the ability to do this. Although, albeit you're doing it very unconsciously, most people are, that can change. Being aware that it can change is the first step to actually experiencing that change. These journeys are about providing the imaginative guidance to bring that process into reality for people on Earth. And believe me when I tell you, many vast numbers of beings, highly trained, very evolved, are involved in the process of assisting those who really want to recover who and what they are and why they exist and what their purpose is in eternity, their destiny, because there is one. My job was to publish the Say Ray's Agenda book and the Emerald Doorway book, book one of the Parallel Time trilogy. And the second two sequel books are being published this week and into July. 4 books will be out there. The Parallel Time trilogy is about extraterrestrial involvement in the ancient past on this earth. An ancient past far before any kind of known history. And how their influence has, in a way, brought about the world we have today, because they were moved forward in time because of the adventure they had to go on. And so such influences were brought here in present time on Earth. The Say Ray's Agenda is about what's taking place out among the stars right now that never occurred before in the entire history. Hundreds of billions of years. Something new. Something is taking place in the consciousness of advanced kind beings, and they're beginning to take on the responsibility of helping people like those who are on Earth today who don't remember almost anything. This was never done before. This thing people call divine spirit, the primordial first sound behind creation, the missing word, is not a written word at all. When people start tuning into it through the hue, everything can change for the better. And a certain kind of protection goes along with doing it, that it's important each individual experience for themselves. As I'm doing that, Ambassador Terrellian, in a pure energy form, is standing out in space outside the atmosphere of planet Earth right now. He's a spherical being like we are, and he's manifesting a body form 18 foot tall. Has long, slightly curved blonde hair to his shoulders, big crystal blue eyes, slightly pointed ears like an elf, about 36 but 18 feet tall, in a gown like a Greek god with bare feet. And he shows this pure energy form, which looks flawless, to us when he serves as a central focal point on these journeys. When we go out of our bodies, and we'll do that in a moment, and we'll go and meet with him and surround him in a circle, like planets orbiting a sun. He is no tyrant. And you're going to find that you present a pure energy form that looks just like you to everyone else on the journey. Because you can do this, you do it. You are a spherical being hovering above the form you show each other on this journey. So first thing, when I say imagine, I don't mean fantasize. I don't mean use something in your brain, because the brain has no faculty in it to project a motion picture on a view screen for you to look at stuff. That's not its purpose. The real you that isn't the brain or body is what imagines anything. Because the real you can imagine being on another world or out in space. You go there anyway every night. You might as well start to become aware of it back on Earth. Imagine being a spherical being as a radiant white core, a layer of teardrop-shaped lights in a bright white yellow concentric circle around the white core, which is like a sun, yellow, white, golden light. Then another concentric circle of the same thing that becomes a little bit orange, and then another one outside of that, whiter, red, then green, then blue, violet, lavender and violet, and then gold around that. And that creates what's called a toroidal field of energy that surrounds through the pole of your top of the sphere you are, just like it goes around the planet Earth and comes in through the South Pole. Each being, which is spherical, has one of these around it. You do, each of you do. And the physical body you're running on Earth has another toroidal field around it from the top of the head to the coccyx, the base of the spine. The aura is not what people think it is. It's a toroidal field. And it's that toroidal field through which the hue comes to keep that body running, or it would drop dead on the spot. Boom, it wouldn't work. Imagine being near the ceiling. This is just daydreaming. You do it all the time. But you probably weren't aware what you're really doing when you're doing it, because it's not taught on Earth to people. Not yet. Imagine you're looking down on your body, sitting in a chair or lying on a bed with your eyes closed, comfortable, safe. The body is peaceful. It is going into the trance state we call sleep. The difference is you have a voice and a presence that's telepathically working with you, the real you, to stay alert. Just get a perspective of what it would look like without effort to see your body from above near the ceiling. You can hear the sound of a high note of a flute playing somewhere very far away, hauntingly beautiful melody, and you're attracted to it. That sound comes from far above the lower planes of time and space. And it moves through the ether of the toroidal or 0-point energy of the universe. It's not only out in space, it's in the atmosphere of this planet. It's in the rock. It's through the core. Planets, moons, suns, and stars are round because they are patterned after the image of their creators. Think about this carefully. Try to remember. You are not, nor have you ever been, the living being you are, a physical human man or woman. That's just a body form, a genetic entity that was developed over 1 billion years so that the Atma, the real you, could run higher faculties through it. This didn't work out so well, did it, in galactic history for you? Because you're on Earth with little to no former memory intact. Most people are afraid to use higher faculties. Either they feel guilty from what they've done in the past or some other silly thing. But they are capable if they're willing to put fear aside temporarily. You know when I'm doing that. Torellian and some of the master teachers that I work with and Galactic Alliance personnel are doing it with me, and they're waiting for us. See what it would be like for you to be in the atmosphere at about 5,000 feet where you live. Day or night doesn't make any difference. And you're looking down through the ceiling of where you live, and you can see the sphere you are, same sphere, hovering near the ceiling, looking at your body that is in the trance state we call sleep right now. This does not mean that you cannot hear a truck go by or a dog bark or something else. The ears are still present in order to alert you to danger, but there is no danger for you. Imagine what it would be like to look around the countryside at 5,000 feet and see your city and your home And if it's nighttime where you are, it would be bright as daylight because you are actually emitting light, lighting up the air around you, exciting the ions. Imagine what it would be like at 10 miles up near space, looking down on you hovering at 10,000 feet and you hovering near the ceiling, looking down on your body. Because as an Atma, we are multidimensional in capability. You can be in more than one place at one time, running bodies in more places than one at one time. Because each of you are already doing this, even though you've been made to fear it or forget it. You have a body you're running that lives much longer than an earth body made of molecules on a higher dimensional reality people refer to as the astral plane, the next major division up from 144 parallel dimensions of the physical universe. Then it becomes astral. The molecules there are finer and they vibrate at a faster time rate. All emotion that you experience on earth comes from the life you're living there, because all matter is moved by emotion there. On earth, all matter is moved through physical effort. Push it around, pull it here, screw this, unscrew that. It's different. Out in space, imagine being out in space right now, and you see Terrellian, who I described earlier, standing 18 foot tall, handsome guy, about 36, luminous, but there's a huge spherical being hovering above him, just as like you are. And then you look and you realize you're looking at your hands. And your hands are luminous and they look just like you on Earth, except this body out in space is pure energy. It's not nuclear or atomic. It doesn't feel heat from the sun. It doesn't feel radiation or cold or hot. And you can realize that this body you have that you're showing other people is perfectly healthy, flawless, trim, about 36. And you look up smiling, and when you do, you look up at yourself. And it's a sphere with a white core hovering above your body, looking back down at you, the body form. You look across the circle at Terrellian in the center. You see me standing to his right side, smiling. And there's an Atma hovering above me too. And you realize that Perry and myself and others are showing you a body like the one they have on Earth, but flawless, healthy, absolutely flawless, because it's made of energy. Kind of a projection, really. And so this is the way we communicate with and show, reveal ourselves to each other. This is a telepathic function. This means the hue, the omnipresent first sound that's out in space, because out in space you see around you a vast field of white golden light, vibrant and radiant, everywhere. It isn't black like you see in a Hubble Space Telescope image. They record other higher frequencies of color into those images, but human eyes have a very narrow frequency of range they can detect, and you can't see the true nature of the one living energy that's out there with physical human eyes. You have to get out as the Atma, and then you can see it. It's white golden light packing completely in the whole vast area out in space that galaxies float in. They create worlds, toroidal fields around the galaxy, the same as around the Earth, the same as around you. And it's through that field of energy that the hue moves from higher worlds through you. And it's through that energy that we communicate with other realities and with the higher realities above the void, known to certain esoteric groups on Earth. This is all normal for many billions, even trillions of beings, even in the physical universe, and it should be for people on Earth. I came here for this purpose, to help bring about an unexpected, uplifting transformation for this planet instead of its looming destruction. I have no vested interest in the power of this planet, or its politics, its religions, or its money, or its fame or fortune, or anything else. I utilize those things like money and stuff just like everyone else because people on Earth are brainwashed to it. And so they give and receive money to buy things when there's no valuable metal or diamonds or jewels or gold or platinum behind any of it. That's okay. It's just a form of medium people will accept in order to give you a product. That's okay. It is by no means a more evolved state that many worlds enjoy outside of Earth. The people on Earth can get there too, but they are going to need and are going to require vast help from beings, fellow beings in the universe that come to Earth anyway, highly trained and blend in. You wouldn't even know they were here. Their craft are capable of blinking in and out just by changing the toroidal field around the craft, the electromagnetic field, up or down. They can simply disappear from physical perception, even radar, and then lower it back down. They're really becoming part of a parallel dimension when they do that. And that's part of the secret of traveling faster than the speed of light, as people understand it on Earth. Light coming from galaxies billions of light years away is not the ancient past as people are taught on Earth through their ignorance and the fact that they really don't know. They just theorize this stuff. Light has no limit in speed or location. It is a limit placed on ourselves on Earth to limit our perceptions of things which have no limits. Life is taking place billions of light years away here in the same moment it's taking place here. When scientists on Earth finally understand this, they will be what you would call quantumly awakened. A few scientists have made inroads in this area that are on this planet, and they are getting help from friends from out of town. And when I say that, I mean people off-world, from beyond the atmosphere of Earth. Out in space, Turelian has his two thumbs up. You are circling around him. You can see the Earth right there with its polar ice caps, its oceans and land masses. The barren moon, no atmosphere, meteor craters all over it, gray, does not turn it all on its axis as it moves around Earth in an orbit. That is most unnatural and not normal for a world influenced by the Earth's gravity. The stars, other planets, do not move as it turns the Earth. This is not natural or normal. And that's one of the things that needs to be corrected about this planet and its moon. The technology and the ability exists to do this, but that technology is not yet on Earth. When we travel to other realities, we begin to learn about a prototype Earth and moon covered with atmosphere that turns on its axis in the third higher parallel dimension of the universe, right where Earth is now, but on a higher frequency, and how that's being utilized to bring about a change here one day. It's prepared. When you look at Turelian, he has his two thumbs up. There's a sphere of golden light around each. He's brought that energy from a reality above the void known to certain esoteric groups on Earth, so that it's a pure toroidal, non-nuclear, non-atomic, radiant energy that puts a field of energy around us. It's a very protective thing. The energy out in space we call 0 point, divine spirit, whatever you want to call it. This living energy does not store negative thoughts or emotions of any kind. You cannot program it to store anything. Often when astronauts get out in space, they have some kind of God realization experience because they're in the field of energy that has none of the distortions they experience, that are running around inside the atmosphere of the planet and kept within the atmosphere of the planet, bouncing off the ionosphere like a radio wave. All the dirty deeds and nasty stuff ever done by people to people and animals is still floating around in the atmosphere as a recording, as a frequency, a carrier wave. So we get outside of Earth's atmosphere to begin these journeys. When you look down at your feet, your bare feet, you're wiggling them in what looks like a white golden light, standing right there. You can hear a sound like roaring thunder, but it's not frightening. It's serene under your feet. That's the sound of the white golden light of the hue outside of Earth. And that sound runs through the whole trillions of galaxies, hundreds of billions anyway. When you get up into a higher dimension, parallel to Earth, like the astral plane, it's more of the sound of the ocean wave crashing on a beach. And it changes. There are other beings here if you pay attention. One of them is named Master Ramu, and he is about 6 feet tall, wears a maroon collared robe, belted at the waist, and simple sandals. Short cropped curly beard, short cropped curly hair, coal black eyes. Looks to be about 36, carrying a 6-foot tall quartz crystal staff. It's his symbol. He always carries it. It is a device. It has the Egyptian Ankh Life Eternal cross with a vertical oval hole in the center of a vertical top piece. And he is a master teacher. He's not from Earth. But he is human. The body he's showing you, which is pure energy, he has an actual body on Earth. And it's been immortalized, which means it does not age. But he's not trapped in it. He hangs out often in a city called Agamdes, which is in the middle of the Himalayan mountain range in the third higher parallel dimension of the physical universe. There is a spaceport there, and monks, and lots of stuff goes on there. And off to the right of Terrellian is another master teacher named Opelum. He's from a planet called Oceania, mostly water covered with a few islands near the equator. Beautiful dome cities covering pyramids and a vast advanced technology, crystalline-based technology. He has pale blue skin, jet black hair to his shoulders, and emerald green eyes. Looks to be about 40, slightly gray temples. Otherwise perfectly healthy, trim, single-piece garment, like a slip-in uniform, but elegant. He's holding up his right hand. You can see little webs between the fingers. Lifts his neck. There are 3 little gill slits on each side. Otherwise, you wouldn't even notice them. Slightly pointed ears. That human race evolved with the ability to breathe underwater or on land, but is not from Earth. That world is 4 times bigger than Earth. It has 3 moons the size of Earth circling it. And those planets, the more advanced ones, circle in orbit around a trinary sun system, 3 stars. Big one in the center, yellow one generally outside, maybe a big red giant or a red dwarf in the outer area. And so they don't have polar ice caps on their worlds either. Big advantage. And he's simply here as a master teacher who goes with us on journeys to what we call the Hue Expansion Ray Academy, which is a new manifestation of a floating circular massive land in a blue energy field. It is high above the void known to, well, certain esoteric groups on Earth. It is above that. Trillian's pointing upward, and you see a doorway open in space. And on the other side of it, you see a floating continent surrounded by a luminous, radiant white beach, and what looks like ocean waves crashing all the way around it. But the energy that's crashing on this beach is light. It looks like water, but it isn't. There are no suns, no moons, no stars there. Just this radiant blue energy backed by a white gold luminous light. And it supports this realm as a teaching facility. There is no negative nature there whatsoever. And Terrellian points out into space. And you see a tunnel start to whirl open. It's blue-green. It starts to spin. And it has an hourglass shape to it. And there's thousands of little blue, cobalt blue stars circling around the opening. And way on the other end of it, you have the ability to see there is a world, a planet, brilliantly lit up, 4 times bigger than Earth. You can see 3 planets at different points the size of Earth revolving around it. And then you see that it is near the galactic core of our Milky Way galaxy. There's a planet called Zetranami 1, and it is the headquarter planet for a vast organization of galactic world systems, spacefaring planetary systems that work through 144 parallel dimensions of physical universe matter, each at a different molecular time rate. And there are 5,000 members who represent over 450 million spacefaring worlds. They generally have jurisdiction over just under one half of this galaxy. And Turellian is pointing, and he's beginning to move through into this opening, and all of us in a circle around him are moving around him and heading into this opening until we get close to it. You begin to realize all of us around Turellian and 100 other master teachers, men and women, formed a circle around us. Beautiful dresses, about 36, perfectly healthy. The Atma hovering above them are moving into this opening. And you realize as we're passing through these radiant blue-green walls of energy whirling, that we appear to be the size of a dime compared to a dinner plate. The opening is quite large. And then we're shot in a beam of light through the other side. The vortex vanishes behind us. And you find yourself around Turellian looking down on this world. In fact, you are high above the galactic plane. You are above the Milky Way galaxy. And you can see a world lit up near the galactic core, not in it. Many suns around it nearby. They're much more concentrated. And you can see this world's atmosphere, this radiant white, golden, almost pinkish hue to the clouds. And you see 3 worlds the size of Earth with oceans and continental landmasses and domed cities on them. No polar ice caps at different distances circling this planet. And Turellian moves us down into the atmosphere. We go right through it. You can feel the moisture on your face. This is your energy body face. The Atma that's spherical, hovering above it, moves down until we come to hover over a tropical landscaped arena with clearings. There's a big white opaque dome building in the center. Some tall pyramidal shapes, some tall glass-like minaret structures, some spherical structures on tripod legs, other pyramids in the distance, and out off in the distance to the west, a radiant curved half-moon bay-shaped glowing sandy beach, and the water is luminous. You can see right above this dome, through the atmosphere, you see 3 planets, one above the other in the sky at different locations, moving slowly around this big world. Turellian begins to move right down through the dome. We pass right through it. And inside, you look down and you realize it's the size of a football stadium. Maybe a little smaller. And there's a blue disc stage down the center, and then 15 tiers of white marble seating with white leather-like chairs. And there are 5,000 men and women standing by these chairs. They have a white robe on with a gold sash from the right shoulder to the left hip. They are Galactic Alliance Council members, not Federation. And they represent here, collectively, 450 million world spacefaring systems. There's not one tyrant among them. There are a few spacefaring tyrant races out there, but they are held in check by this group now. And they've been removed, not only from underground bases on Earth, but from our solar system and sent home. Earth and its solar system are quarantined. And it will remain that way until we're safe people to travel among the stars. Turellian is now standing on this blue disc, 18 foot tall, and he's got a big book under his right arm. This guy's 18 foot tall, so this book is big, and he opens it up. It looks like, as he's turning it, like they're transparent metal pages. It says the Seres Agenda, and in it, you can see these fire hieroglyphic letters moving, dancing across the page. You can't read it, not with your eyes. But if you focus your imagination on it, the energy of the wisdom that's contained in that book will come right into the white core of your being, through the field of the body that you're manifesting around Turelian, and enter the white core of your being right now. Turelian places the book in the air and it levitates by itself. The council members, which have already been through this, nod their head and raise their right hand in respect, because the energy coming from that book is passing into all of them, and it's going through them to all the citizens of all the worlds they represent right now. And you, all of you on this journey, have the privilege of being able to receive a greater wisdom than you've ever known. The ability to handle it, the ability to comprehend it, the ability to embrace it without fear. The next thing you know, we're back in space near planet Earth. Look at the planet with its polar ice caps and the moon, and suddenly you'll see like a heat wave in a desert come before your vision. The planet suddenly changes to Earth with no polar ice caps. Has one huge continent centered over the equator. Goes up near the North Pole about a third of the way below it, goes to the eastern hemisphere, comes south about a third of the way from the southern pole to the western hemisphere. And there's another continent 2/3 its size on the other side of the equator. You can see right through the planet. And the moon, as you see, is covered with oxygen, rain clouds, little lakes and little oceans, and little rivers and domed cities. And it is turning on its axis as it orbits the Earth. The sun is in the distance. The stars around you here, billions of them, blue, white, yellow, orange, red, are everywhere. And you can see them clearly, floating in a white golden light that is beneath them, surrounds them on all sides, upward, downward, and everywhere. You're looking at a continent called Lemuria, on an Earth that never was destroyed when the poles flipped like they did on the Earth you're familiar with. The Atla colony on the other side, or what people call Atlantis, is also it's not really a colony, it's part of this one world. And it is manned by advanced teachers. The Turelian is one of them, the Seres race, Galactic Alliance personnel, master teachers that work with the Galactic Alliance. The atmosphere in that planet, that Earth, is pure. There's no negative thoughts or emotions in the atmosphere at all. It's kept this way deliberately. And if you look, you can see a little emerald green beach, half moon shaped, down near the point of the big continent, third of the way up from the South Pole. No polar ice caps. And you can actually see it from space glowing. Inland several miles is a single snow-capped mountain in a tropical jungle, up on a higher ridge. And to the left of it is a huge dome covering 3 white alabaster, gold-crowned, and quartz-capped pyramids in the back third of the city, an oval blue-green luminous lake, and a half mountain range, a miniature mountain range with waterfalls, placed there for the aesthetic enjoyment of the people that work there. It is a experimental realm. There are little ivory dome buildings all throughout the countryside and little white roadways. Out at the ocean, this gradient green energy, you look down and you realize your feet are wiggling in emerald green sand. You're looking at your physical energy form. And you look up smiling, you see the sphere you are, and you look out in the ocean, Turelian standing up to his knees out in the ocean. He's 18 feet tall. Still got his hands held up with the golden spheres of light around it. And you look at this beach and you pick up this sand and you realize, hey, this is made of polished, transparent emeralds, glowing. It's charged. The charge goes in your hands, soothing and warm and cooling, comes up through your head, goes through your smiling face into the white core of your being. and gets distributed out through the layers. And then it continues out into space on its journey elsewhere. It moves through you. This is the primordial first sound, the living light and sound energy of creation, moving through all things. In this case, you are in telepathic communication with the consciousness of yourself, conscious with it. You look inland, you can see a brown moss-covered path going back through a cut in the jungle, straight as an arrow. And then it winds its way up towards the mountain and the domed city. When you look at the mountain, snow-capped, there's a waterfall cascading out of an oval cavern, 2/3 of the way towards the summit, roaring down a sheer cliff face to disappear into blue-green forest trees, the backside of this domed city. And it becomes a river that dumps into this ocean eventually. There are other beaches and other wonders on that planet Earth, just above where you are now, just in a higher frequency. Now we're out in space around Torelli, and he points up, and you see that vortex that was opened earlier? And you see that floating landmass out there with the white radiant beach around it, 6 snow-covered mountain peaks in the center, and suddenly you find that we are on the other side of that vortex looking back down. And you can see us hovering around Torelli, and there's Earth with the polar ice caps, there's the barren moon and the sun. And the vortex vanishes, and when you look down below your feet now, you see that there is a white circular disc-shaped island in the middle of the ground beneath these 6 mountain peaks in a circle, and a luminous blue-green lake around it, and in the center of it, a 4-foot-high blue stone laced with gold polished stand, curved edges polished, rectangular, and a 4-foot in diameter sphere that looks like blue glass. In the middle of it, a radiant blue, cobalt blue star gleaming, and a shaft of white golden light coming down into it. Up in space of the atmosphere of this place, you look, everything is cobalt blue. Everything is this blue atmosphere. And you can see the white golden light of the hue behind it, supporting it. You look out in the distance in the entire circumference, and you see this white luminous beach. There's no stars, no planets, no moons, no suns here. This is in the pure energy worlds. Everything is self-luminous. It needs no planets, no moons, no suns, no stars. This is suspended and held in place by beings, because this is an instruction facility called the U Expansion Ray Academy. There is a blue glass administration tower down on the lower plateau to the western of the 6 mountains, heading west. It comes out of a white marble floor, and there's a white roadway going straight as an arrow to the western beach. And then there's another one going off at another angle, like the spokes of a bicycle tire. They go into oval tunnels, perfectly cut into the mountains. They go into the hollowed out interior of this land, come through tunnels on the other side, and end up on the beach, on the opposite side of this floating landmass. When you look down at this blue glass administration tower, it looks like smooth blue glass comes up to a flattened spherical area and up to a minaret point, and there's a shaft of white golden light coming into it. In the center of this flattened sphere is a fountain sitting on the floor, 15-foot white, scalloped white stone edges. And there's a shaft of white golden light coming down into it, filling the bowl, and it pours over these scalloped edges in a smooth radiant sheet and drops down through the shaft of the U Expansion Ray Administration Tower. When you look through the clear sides of this flattened sphere, you can see in all directions. And when you look to the western roadway, there is a turn to the right in a clearing, a turn to the left in a clearing, further down a turn to the right in another clearing, further down a turn to the left. And there are different types of structure and crystalline towers and pyramidal structures, silo-type ivory-collared structures that are specific teaching facilities here. This place was created to help beings who can travel here to remember what they once knew about their life in the higher realities before they were made to forget this. And they've forgotten it long after the lower worlds of time and space were built below here. We are in a reality above the void. So here you hear the sound of a million men and women's voices singing the hue in perfect harmony until it blends into one beautiful round whole tone vibrating everywhere. You see it as this blue light backed by a golden white light everywhere. And you look at yourself, your hands, as your body's glowing. You're standing in the atmosphere with Turelian above these mountains, looking up, and all you see is blue that goes on forever. And these beams of light, one from the sphere near the ground, the center of the mountain range, one coming up through the Blue Glass Administration Tower, and another coming from the other side of this landmass, and they join into one beam and continue upward. This place is real. It is through such places as this that the lower universes of time and space are maintained, but more importantly, how they are beginning to be changed. Not destroyed, changed. You look out to the western roadway and you look down and realize your feet are now wiggling in white, luminous sand. And this blue-green, beautiful, radiant wave is crashing along the beach, continuing all the way around the circumference of this place. And out in that water, it isn't water. It looks a little darker, like an ocean. And above it is this cobalt blue atmosphere. And you look down and pick up this sand and you realize, oh my gosh, these little spherical things are clear, polished, round diamonds radiating light of the rainbow. And it goes into your palms, goes up your smiling face, into the white core of your being, and out into the universe. The next instant, you find that we are hovering above the ocean, way out in the ocean, looking back on this little place, the U Expansion Ray Academy. And you look down and you realize there are beings swimming in this light. Dolphins and whales and other creatures are here. Very advanced. Their atmos hovering above them. And you find that we plunge into this water. You can breathe under this water. Everything's light and lit up. And you find you can speak with dolphins and whales and other creatures here. Because the atmos running them, are learning how to respect all life, animals and plants and trees and moons and suns and stars, all of it, in order to maintain buoyancy in this place and in order to be a channel for this kind of awareness to come to others in the lower worlds of time and space, which is why all of you have come here. You look down and you realize that we are still hovering in space around Turelian. You look up and see the vortex leading to this place close and vanish. You look at the Earth, and there's no polar ice caps. It's this big Lemurian continent, Atlantis on the other side. Has that domed city, the base of the western side of the snow-capped mountain, the waterfall. The green glowing Half Moon Bay beach, Turelian standing in it with his thumbs up. Turelian is standing in the center of the energy around which we're circling with his thumbs up, both places simultaneously. And then you see the Earth change to what you're used to. Polar ice caps, barren moon, orbiting the planet but never turning, not at all, most unnatural, and then the sun and the beautiful star field out in the Milky Way galaxy. And then you realize you're hovering near your ceiling back in your home where you live. And you're beginning to open your eyes. But first, of your own choice, allow the memory of this journey to go into the brain through the pineal gland, center of the brain, and go out into the electromagnetic field, the toroidal field that surrounds your body, and around the field that surrounds you, hovering above that body. And then it passes through you and continues on its way elsewhere on Earth and then back out into space. This energy has passed through a body you're having that you run on the etheric plane, 5 dimensions up, the mental plane, the causal plane, the astral plane, and the physical world plane you're on planet Earth. And they're becoming aware of each other, your so-called higher selves. They're looking up and looking down to see you on Earth. And you want this. This is constructive. This is coming out of a long amnesia. Be kind to yourself. Look fondly down upon that form. Realize it is being enlightened on Earth. And when you're ready, open your eyes.
Oh, thank you for a journey. Today we connect to our higher self, like we said in other planes too.
Of course. But
Good,
remember,
good.
this information is information. What's important is that people awaken the knowing of it in their own experience. Otherwise, it'll just be theory and speculation and worthless to them. So the journey, going on the journeys and participating in them is important if people really want to know who they are and remember.
And very interesting, Scott, that your book, The Series Agenda, is here. You are, yeah, and with tolerance as well.
This is a mile long. It is stationed permanently in our solar system in the ice rings, chunks of ice that make up the rings that circle the planet Saturn. Right now, that's what makes them up. These are galactic scout, disc-shaped semi-spheric pods underneath, very modern. Bridge control here on the other side. Ships do not go through launch bay doors on this ship. They actually raise their molecular time and pass through the molecular structure of the hull and then land in launch bays. This is designed to go through interdimensional doorways to cover vast areas of space. It is here these ships are patrolling our solar system to keep bad extraterrestrials out now and to keep us from destroying ourselves. Because if we did that, it would harm billions of life in parallel dimensions that are accessed through doorways on Earth people don't even know exist. And no one out there is going to tolerate us doing that. We don't have the right to. This is about what's taking place out among the stars right now that's changing for our sake, for theirs. The Emerald Doorway is the first book of the Parallel Time trilogy. This is a scene from ancient Lemuria on Earth before the poles flipped. In fact, after the poles flipped and destroyed it, new continental land masses rose up from the ocean. 24 hours. Very violent affair. This is an opening to the fifth reality above the void. This is a ship, a galactic scout. It's a Caucasian male, not from Earth. The pilot of the ship. This is a love interest. This is Melina Blueskin. She's the daughter of Master Opelum you met out in space. That's Master Ramu carrying his staff. They're on anti-gravitic discs that ground you gravitationally to them so you can fly them with your will. This is a little creature named Etta. Etta is a Dren. Dexterous hands and feet like a human. His tail glows like crystal opal in bright sunlight. And his creature evolved on this woman's world, mostly water, in extinct volcanic tunnels, ecosystems at the bottom of the ocean. And that race, he's a Dren. He has bulbous blue eyes, dexterous hands and feet. He's strong, about 3 feet long from the tip of his nose to the root of his tail, and he can levitate or fly through the air as an organic creature. This is what you would call source or prime creator that's come down through here, and he's introducing for the first time what this is to these three. These three at this point don't know they have one of these hovering above their head. Looks just like this, but on a smaller scale. This is the beginning of their enlightening journey 100,000 years ago. These extraterrestrials had influence on this earth, and that was brought to the present time on earth. So this book and the other 2 books that are being published the next week and 2 weeks and 3 weeks, the next 2 books of this trilogy will be out. It has many very fine illustrations in it. And if I hadn't published this as a publisher myself, that would never have been put in this book. I want to show you some of these illustrations. This is Opelum.
When we went on the journey, he's there too.
The master teacher, that's right. This is Etta. Cute little guy, fiery and feisty and courageous to a fault, but this little guy, silica-based, not carbon, has more of the high faculties of a good human being than humans on Earth even understand. And he would die for if you had to save your life. This is Master Ramu. This book has illustrations, over 30. The other 2, this is the Emerald Doorway. So this is what you look like, round, that people on earth call soul without really understanding or remembering anything about it. They're not one of these, they're one of these. This is what's made in the image of prime creator or source, not this. They got that completely wrong on earth. The next two books, called Guardians of the Ancient One and Journey to the Center of the Universe, is a journey not to the center of the physical universe. They'll be out soon.
I am reading, and the back of the series book there is techniques, right? There are techniques, and many times people they start to follow your techniques. They could remember the dreams and remember more things. Yeah.
These books are published in two categories, and people need to know this for whatever good it does them. One is nonfiction, body, mind, spirit, extraterrestrials, UFOs, and fiction, action, adventure. Those are the only two choices I could put together to make this published work in this kind of a world. It was done that way for a reason, because it's not designed to be mindless entertainment for people. These books are designed to be energy doorways for people to begin to remember. In the back of this book is an entire 50-plus page special technique section involving the hue and like what journey we went on tonight. And there's a technique for the prologue and all 29 chapters in here. It's the only book like it on the planet like this, I can assure you of that. So that's something people can really benefit from, and people are. So Perry, did you have any other things you wanted to talk about regarding people who might see your video or your YouTube channel, or I think we're calling it now Having Fun Beyond Earth or something like that? Awaken Hidden Truth, yeah.
Yeah. I would like to highly recommend people to read your two books, and the series agenda. When you read, you go on the techniques, because people get experiences from the techniques.
Right.
That's the most important thing.
And
yeah, and your website and YouTube channel have more videos, very interesting videos. People can go visit and click on the link under my video.
I think what I'll do on this video, Perry, is give you the links to my websites. There are 4. Primary website, paralleltime.com, and 3 supporting websites. And I'll give you a link to my YouTube channel, which has over 60 very professionally produced videos with a woman narrator, orchestrated music. They're short, about 1 minute, 20 seconds. There's a couple of videos on my website right on the front page that will go to Norway or Finland when I did presentations for scientists and other people there. And they can watch those. There's no charge, no cost. The books, yes, otherwise I couldn't get them out in the world. So I want to leave you with that. And I guess to everyone that tunes into this, and to you, Perry, thank you for having the courage to do this.
Yeah, thank you to you and everyone for watching too. Please share and subscribe for our next video.
Yeah, go on the journey. Go on lots of them. Have them fun. Wake up. Remember who you are. You have the opportunity to do that now. That's why I take the time and energy to do this with Perry. So I will say, see you all later.
See you later, everyone.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.